We are live. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to Masterpiece Shitpiece Theater on our home, the Realm of Collectors Network. I'm Masterpiece Shitpiece, your host, and we've got the full panel of theater goers tonight. We're gonna do something a little different than we usually do this week. We're gonna go really late on everything else, and we're gonna devote most of our time to Stan the Man Lee.
Indeed.
So let's go ahead and get this party started. Josh Fisher, tell them where you're at, buddy.
You can find me my regular name on Facebook and in the groups. You can find me every Friday night at 9 here with you guys on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. Live at 9 on Fridays. You can also find me. Well, tonight you did make it 9-ish. I'm like, it's 9. Let's go. But it's okay. We're here, and you can find me every other Friday on the All Queued Up podcast with my co-host Greg. We dropped a new episode today covering Castlevania Season 2 and the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. Check that out tomorrow. Not right now though. And you can occasionally catch us on Off the Runner when we do another episode. Yeah.
All right.
I got stuff I want to build. But that's where I'm at.
We're always late, Larry. It's fucking a miracle when we're not. Rob Milton, where you at, buddy?
Oh, traveling down the highways Monday through Fridays, hanging out in the good books on the ROC and Instagram at Rob's Ropets, and hanging out with you sexy beasts every Friday night.
Right now, he's falling into a sandwich.
Huh?
That's why he's off camera, because Rob has gotten a late delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit! What's up, Sunday?
I'm eating somebody's beef.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Heat's up in the chat. What's up, Heat?
Tell us. What's up,
Sam?
Yo, I'm Insta_Sam89 on Instagram. Sam Mead in the Facebook groups here every Friday night.
And 2 inches from the ground on farmersonly.com.
Nice. Hell yeah.
All right.
Beautiful, man.
Russ, did I skip you?
Yeah, he skipped me. That's all right, though. I'm used to it. Everyone fucking ignores me.
You like fucking muted yourself, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, I was talking to Anna because she just got back from working out, so I was like checking out how the last there and shit.
Well, why ain't she on camera then? All nice
she went to take a shower, so. If my screen goes black, I got to dip out for a minute, you know.
All right, Russ.
We understand.
Yeah, man. Oh, you can find me on The Good Book. We got Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. I got ready to do another rant pretty soon. I mean, I'm gonna rant on fucking those assholes that were ragging on my hat this past weekend. Anyway, so because I'm petty like that. And you can find me here on every Friday night and around 9-ish.
That's right.
And hopefully I'm soon, love you, James. Plastic Fanatics will be back hopefully down the road. We'll see soon. And I'm holding out hope. Let's be back soon. Anyway.
Word, James, if you watch, man, I haven't hit you up or anything because I figured just leave you alone and let you recover, buddy. But thoughts and prayers, brother.
Yeah, man. I told him, I hit him up the other day. I told him everyone's thinking about you, man. We're all, got you on the mind. So, I'm going to change my name on Instagram to Doggy Style Doolittle just because I think it sounds cool.
Doggy, damn, dude. I gotta talk about that after. I got the questions.
Please tell me you're joking.
Doggy Style Doolittle means he does little from the back.
That's right.
Yeah,
I just say, I just go, hey, you got to move for me while I stand there. Anyway.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you just said Anna's been walking out and stuff.
Anna told me that you were going to rename yourself the Angry Inch.
That was taken on Instagram already.
That was supposed to be a surprise, and that's supposed to tell him. Anyway.
Like, even with an underscore?
underscore.
I call myself Pinky Linky. All right.
All
Damn,
right.
dude, you got no shame.
Right.
That's our
if you
word.
have shame and you're on this show, wrong
Yeah.
show.
Wrong show. Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Bethany. Hey. See you in the chat there. All right. I'm your host, Masterpiece Shitpiece, Nick Brammer. Find me on Facebook at Nick Brammer, Twitter at Brammer_Nick.
You got Twitter?
Yeah. Masterpiece
Dude.
Shitpiece. Masterpiece_Shitpiece or some shit like that on Instagram, which I never use. And I'm just floating around. I'm not a hard guy to find.
That's why you don't reply to my DMs.
You don't DM me.
That's because he canceled his farmers.net profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Nice.
kicked off that mug, man. People are hella sensitive.
Dude, they don't like when you show your junk. I told you that. It's like YouTube. I told you.
Yeah,
Like you do.
unless you're showing horse dong, you need to get off there.
God.
Funny. It's not like YouTube. It's like YouTube.
And the show
All
just
right.
took a dark path.
All right, guys.
Donkey
thanks
show
for
what?
joining us.
All right,
Jesus.
we're gonna go ahead and start with start real quick. Get a few things out of the way before we get into our Stanley tribute. Josh, since you were the keeper of the league, go ahead and start running that shit down.
Dude, I
There's not
lose
much to
people.
run down this week. You know, as a lot of you are aware, we do a husbands versus wives fantasy football league here at Masterpiece Shitpiece Theater, and the wives kicked all our asses this week.
Damn.
None of us,
Yep.
none of us
God, they
husbands won. We all got the shit kicked out of us.
It was
My whole wife-
unreal, dude. It was weird, man.
That was a
It's just like-
massacre.
planets aligned. You know, menstrual cycles were synced. I don't know what
Oh,
happened,
no.
but they fucked us up.
You're not
Uh,
kidding, dude.
I am not. So the standings in the husbands league, me and Russ and Rob are all tied for first. But however, since I have beaten them every time I face them, I am the division leader. As you can see by the little cross there.
But we right now we would
But-
all be in the
but-
playoffs, and we would
Yeah,
all
yeah.
have to.
Yeah, exactly. But so one of the two Titans, which is either Tiffany or Kate, they're both 7-3. They're facing each other this week, so somebody's going to be walking away
Sort it out.
7-4
Oh,
and
shit.
Yes, indeed.
3. And then Misty, you know, she's 6-4, and everybody else is 500 or lower. So not much
Yeah.
to report. Good luck, fellas. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm
thanks.
playing Sam this week, so there's my guaranteed victory. So my place will be protected.
Thanks a lot, Ben Rapelessberger.
Yeah, I will tell you, Josh. So technically, I mean, by record, you know, I know you've beat me twice, but points score and points for, you know, and points against.
I understand
I'm
that.
ahead of you, my friend. I've got
You
you.
are ahead of me, but I got you
Yes.
in the tie break, and that's why I'm division leader.
Yes, I know.
Tie goes to me.
Overall, I am ranked number 4, and you
Overall.
are ranked number 5. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, there was our quick fantasy rundown. It doesn't matter because in the end, I will still be league champion. So just putting it all
Well,
together.
I don't know.
We-
If Tiff has anything to say about it, you might not be.
Or Kate. Jesus
Listen,
Christ.
dude,
Kate's
I don't
on
know.
a
Listen,
take-
roll.
I don't even want
I'll
to talk
take
about
care
Kate.
of one,
Kate-
and then I'll take
Kate-
care of the other.
Kate, I still got Kate's footprint on my ass. Okay,
Yeah.
it was a rough beat down.
Dude, it's going to come down to those two in the end. You watch.
And
Nah.
Kate's like, do we really have to host the show? And I said, yes, you do.
Hey,
Yeah,
That's the same
the
thing Tim
stakes.
said.
That's the stakes. If one of them wins, they're hosting the show one
Dude,
night. So.
that's going to be so funny. When
Gives
people
us a
tune in,
break.
they're like, who are these?
Oh,
Who are these women?
we will troll that chat so fucking hard.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what this wee shit is. I'm not.
Yeah.
What are you going to be doing?
Whatever. Goody two shoe. Goody one
Because
shoe. Mr. Goody
because-
one shoe.
listen, you can say that all you want, but we've already established this. Everybody just needs to accept it. It's the reality will become I'm the champion. So therefore, nobody will have to troll the wives chat because it's not going to happen.
We ain't going to be doing shit.
Moving on, gentlemen.
Look at this. Our savior is Sir Stumps a lot. This is gonna be fucking wonderful. Let's go for it.
Stops everybody in fantasy football.
There you go, Heat. It's a Grimlock shirt. Me Grimlock here to save universe.
Dude, that's fucking dope, man.
That's actually a cool shirt. Yeah, that is nice.
That's wild. I like that.
Is that one of
That's not bad.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
What's up,
Okay.
Rob?
Is that one of the ones Kincaid does?
No, I got this off of like T Public or some shit.
Okay.
One of
The
the
name
few
of the
one of the few sites that has shirts for obese men like myself.
Trust me, I find myself shopping on them a lot more lately. Big boy, I gotta find something that fits me.
All right, and next we want to go into ToyCon a little bit because a
Sure.
lot of the ROC guys were there, and one of our castmates was there, and I heard it was a good time. So Russ,
It was really awesome. This is my first time going, and we but the Four Horsemen were there, so I had a hard on right away.
Dude, that's tight.
And yeah, it was really awesome.
In person.
Yeah, I got them to sign some of my stuff too. Some
Were
of
they like? Were they? Are
Did they
they
sign that fucking hat?
No, I should have, dude. I should have gotten them to sign it. That'd have been so epic, dude. Oh wow! But I think they were kind of afraid of the hat. They were like, "Yo, this guy's creepy."
Did it smell funny?
No, it's not bad. I perfume it. I make spray it down pretty good. It's not bad. Because I don't like stinky hats. But no, but it was really awesome. It was really awesome to meet those guys and talk to them and hang out with them.
Are they cool to talk to, Russ?
They are. They're really nice.
man.
They'll answer questions and everything, man. You ask them anything, and they're open to talking about it. Really nice guys, and of course, a lot of other guys were there. Dust was there. Brink was there. Jose, Dave. It was almost like another. It was kind of funny. It was like we had TFCon, a few weeks ago, and then I was like, "Wow, I feel like I just seen you guys." Oh yeah, I did a couple weeks ago.
And this, I feel like ours sneaks up because it's so soon afterwards.
Yeah. And Anna was really excited because she was like, "Look, I want to go for that. I want to really check this convention out." And I was like, "Okay, we will." And when we went there, we didn't know what to expect, and it was so huge. The convention is gigantic. It's really big. They got like about two giant gymnasiums that they fill up with vendors. They got some side rooms and stuff. They had RC cars where you guys people could pick up a controller and start driving an RC car around like a track.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh man, like slot car racing.
Yeah. So they had some slot car racing.
That's cool.
They had this guy had this long ass Hot Wheels track set up, and you could set your car, pick a car, and race your car down the Hot Wheels track and shit.
Oh, that's dope.
That's pretty funny. He had lots of video games. Oh wow, and all of them are set to free, right? So you just go up and just play.
Cool,
Dude, I'm in right there. You had me.
Yeah.
You got me.
Anna and I played a game. She poor she beat my ass. God damn it. Anyway, but
something like that, like something like entertainment value like that.
Mhm.
It's like you only walk around the floor so many times.
That's what I mean. Eventually, you got to find something to distract yourself because you're gonna see these vendors about 5 times. And you're like, oh, same stuff. Okay, So, but they had a lot of
kids there.
A lot of kids there.
Cool.
I wanted my kids to come, but my kids both basically told me, "Up yours. We're not going to your nerdy convention."
Oh man,
I said,
that's cool.
"Fine, F you. I'm gonna have a good time."
Yeah.
But it was a lot of Marvel Legends, very heavy Marvel Legends there. Like lots of people selling them. I was like, "Whoa, man! This is kind of crazy." You go to one table, be a whole bunch of big, and you go to another table, same shit. It was like, it was pretty nuts. A lot of that there, and they had a lot of vintage, lots of vintage toys. Like you can find some really cool old school stuff.
Yeah, Brink posted a couple of pictures that were pretty cool.
Yeah. There was Brink and Jose and all them, man. They're taking pictures all over the place. I was like, dude, I'm not even gonna bother. You guys go ahead. You got it covered. But
I saw Brink's pictures of that one vendor who had just a bunch of like Japanese robots from like the 70s and early 80s.
That's just so tight.
Jesus Christ, had I been there. Ooh.
Jose found somebody that actually had the entire first wave of the Siege line.
No,
he was
Optimus
talking about
Prime,
that the other night.
yeah, Megatron. Was it Hound, Sideswipe, and I don't remember the name of the dude that breaks apart. Cog, and then the little guy that splits in two and is an airplane.
Flywheels.
Wheels.
Flywheels. There you go.
I don't know why how I know that.
Yeah, I forget their names, some of their names.
Yeah, I
But
definitely want to get that Flywheels, man, because I got that
I'll pick that
battle
up
strap.
if I
I
see it
love
too.
it.
I'm gonna tell you, man, we were checking them out because later on that night we all went back to Dust's place and we're hanging out. We did kind of a little birthday cake thing for Pinkerton. Anna and Bethany were in the kitchen decorating the cake, getting it ready to go, and kind of surprised Chris with it. It was pretty cool. We didn't get nobody thought to do video. I don't know what the hell we were thinking. Most Roma collectors things, it's always got video or pictures.
Yep.
Well, none of us thought about it, but Jose has audio of it. Of us
Yeah.
saying,
Well, there's video of you guys with all the masks and shit.
oh, okay. So do you have some of that? Okay.
Dust did put a live video up
Okay.
that night. I
Right,
know
so
I was watching along live, and he was, he couldn't see the comments for like the first 2 minutes. He's like, "Is anybody fucking watching this?
Yeah, he couldn't figure
Nobody's
out how
fucking
to-
watching this." And I was like, "We're fucking watching."
Yeah, apparently swipe left is too hard to figure. Love
Well,
you.
after a long day of con fun, and then everybody coming back and good times and drinks and all that, I'm sure that it was just an easy thing to overlook.
I think Dust was enjoying himself. We were all having it was good. It was just a good time. We're all everyone's playing with their toys. We got lots of toys out.
Yeah, I saw Jose. He was talking to Pinkerton over there, and he's sitting there, he's podcasting. I was like, "There's Jose, man. He's doing his thing." I was watching that video, and I was just like, "God damn! I wish I was up there with you guys, because it's been 3 weeks since TFCon, and it's just like, fuck, man, I'm missing everybody. I was like wishing I could be there."
we missed a lot of people. I was like, man, all I kept thinking was, damn, if we had a bigger crowd, we could probably make Dust's floor cave in. Let's be great.
Find out.
Lots of fat guys. Anyway, we
pizza.
Yeah, really. Dust had like the air fryer going there, man. He's cooking all kinds of shit in there.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, he did wings in there, man. They turned out so good. I was like, Dust, this is amazing, dude.
He's got that wing life down, man.
Yeah, he does. He does. I had to hurry him because Bricks was eating them all, so I had to hurry him grab a couple before Bricks finished that shit off.
Bricks, dude.
Yeah, he's like, Rush, you want a couple of these? I'm like, but yeah, I better get them now. Grab a couple. He's like, go ahead, get them out. He was tearing it up, dude. Yeah, and but yeah, it was just a really good time. Like I said, we ended up leaving like early Sunday morning, because we had to head back.
Did you stay at his place?
No, we stayed at a motel with Lowry and Bethany.
Oh, right on.
So we ended up we ended up getting up and going and got breakfast and got the hell out of there. Try to get back in a decent time, because that's some shit I had to take care of when I got back home. So, but the day I heard, so while this is funny, so while we're heading back, I'm like messaging Brink. I'm like, yo, dude, can you do me a favor? Can you go by the horseman table and can you pick up another figure for me and I'll pay you for it? Can you send it to me? So I told him which one I wanted, because it was funny when you went up to their table. They were picked over when I got there, but they restocked later on in the day. So I bought shit that I wanted that they still had there. But later on, I come by and they got a bunch of other shit. But by then, I've done blew through all my money. I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
money. So I wanted Elf Ranger and they had them, but I have to buy. I was out of money, so I got Brian to pick me up one and send it to me. He's awesome to do that. I wasn't the only one. Tons of people were hitting him up. Pick this up for me. Pick that up for me. So
people that were there or people that weren't there?
No, people that weren't there or people that had to leave early.
I thought people were there. I'm like, damn, man, don't they got an ATM?
But that's a fun. Brink was telling that story the other night on Breaking the Mold, how he basically people were PayPaling him, so he'd have to go and get cash. He said he walked out an ATM. Dude, Chuck went by the same ATM later. He's like, man, Walgreens ATM only had $20. He's like, shit, that's all I left in there.
Yeah. Well, dude, when I went there, they had an ATM actually at the convention. That shit was emptied out, dude. they all hit that shit. I was like, damn, this business is done, man.
With them fees.
Yeah, it was pretty. everyone was hitting that shit up because most of these guys are all cash only anyway. They're not gonna run through many credit cards, but I don't blame them. But it was a really cool con. Like I said, we had lots of cool cosplay. They had like the 501st.
Oh wow, the
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
cosplayers. They're a big group over in the Northeast.
There was them, and then there was the big Star Wars cosplayers, the big legion of them, and shit. They had
damn
Darth Vader and all the stormtroopers and shit, and Princess chick like was a pretty hot Princess Leia. I was like, God damn, she's looking good, dude. The
shit.
buns, nice.
All you're missing was the Halo team, and you'd have had the whole group of major cosplayers.
Yeah, man, it was really fun. It was really good. And then they had some, and they had were having the radio control car racing and stuff. They had the stage where they had these people who were doing lightsaber battles and shit, and they're teaching kids how to doing the choreography for it and shit. Pretty awesome. I was like, that's pretty cool shit, man. Yeah.
They have lots of those like force effects lightsabers, like the realistic looking ones. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I got my kid one of those last Christmas, man. I got him the green Luke.
That's awesome, dude. That's actually a really nice one too.
If you listen to the Cobra Law podcast, Mitty, he actually used to do that lightsaber technique training and stuff like that out there.
That's cool. Those guys, they get so good at it, man, that like they just, it's a good show, man. It's like you feel like you're watching a real duel, man. It's wild, and they're just so good at making it look so real, but that was they had a lot of that going. They had a lot of kinds of cool stuff going on, man. It was one of the better conventions I've ever been to, just for all the different stuff they had. The video games alone were really cool because there were tons of them out there.
Man, you don't see it often where they mix toys in the video games like that unless they're video game specific toys too.
Yeah, I know you beat me, Anna. Stop bragging. Anyway. Like
Russ should be used to losing to Anna by now at
this
point.
Kidding, dude. I beat my ass. All the women beat my ass. Okay, it's like, Russ, you mean kick his ass. He's gonna.
Russ, when you were there, did you see a lot of people that took like either credit cards or like just took PayPal at their tables?
Actually, I didn't see. Most of the people all the tables I went to, it was all cash, man. They weren't. I didn't think I seen anybody doing credit cards. There might have been somebody there, but I don't think I saw anyone doing it.
They have this small toy show by me, and they have. I probably go like twice a year, but last time I was trying to buy, this dude was selling like some Star Wars toys, and at that point I was out of cash and didn't want to drive. They didn't have an ATM on site. I would have had to like drive and go to one. So I was like,
yeah.
But I was like, can I just PayPal you the money? Because he said he didn't take cards, but he was like, I don't have PayPal, and like didn't. I don't know. Just seemed really off put by it. But I was like, oh no, like I can do it like right here, like and just so you can like watch me send you the money and stuff. But
he starts shaking his head. And he goes, PayPal? What the hell is that?
Is this where he puts
what sorcery is this?
Yeah. Then he pulled out an old rotary dial flip phone and
I could send you the money. You could see it go through, and then like I'll wait till it hits your account or like hits your PayPal. But yeah, he acted like he'd never heard of it, man.
I'd rather use Venmo because people can't track it as well.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Shout out to our raffle group.
Yeah, but it was. I think the best part of it was just hanging out with everybody again, like it always is. You go to these conventions.
Yeah.
If you've been to one convention, you've been to all of them. I mean, I will say this one was pretty neat. But most of the time, you've seen everything there is to see. We've seen plenty of cosplayers. We've seen all that stuff. But just seeing everybody again and hanging out. We did the whole birthday thing for Chris. That was really awesome. I like surprising people with shit like that. Chris had no idea.
I feel like going back, like you guys all went to Dust's place, and I feel like that would be like the most chill. It's just like kicking it at someone's house.
We were having a good time, man.
But getting to kick it in someone's house, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. Old school house party.
Yeah, Dust has a nice house too. It's not bad. It's pretty cool. It's just, it's a good bachelor pad.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's probably like in good shape. Like no kids to fuck it up.
Oh yeah.
It was in good shape, and they all showed up.
Yeah. But he's really anal about that shit. So he was like telling me, he's like, yo, as soon as when everyone's gone, he'll still clean that shit up. He can't like clean it up.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
But yeah, he was a great host too, man. Dust was awesome. and we were, I had a lot of shit talking. Like I said, they were picking on my hat. F you guys, my hat was cool.
Yeah. Bricks was alleging on
I thought you lost.
There were specific jokes made about your hat. I'm curious as to what some of these jokes were.
You know,
Dude, I was going to ask you if you
I was
lost a
gonna play like you don't remember.
you thought I lost a bet? No, that's. I think actually somebody might have actually asked me that. I think somebody might have said, "Did you like lose a bet or something? Why are you wearing that damn thing?" You know?
Damn,
So,
he's hating.
Bethany kept calling my asshole hat. She's like, "Why are you wearing? It's like such an asshole hat. Only an asshole would wear that hat." And I'm like, "I am an asshole wearing that hat." It works out.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know what, Anna? Don't agree with her. It's okay.
Is Anna in her towel?
No, she's not.
Oh,
She's not.
Jesus
She's not in the
Christ.
towel.
Damn it!
Yeah, you missed it. Nick's upset because you're not in the towel.
Don't forget to bring a towel.
Oh, goodness.
Really? You know, I'd have to break my foot off in Nick's ass, right? I'd come out after. I'd be like Josh afterwards. I'd lose my fucking leg.
Hey, they can rebuild you, Russ, and I know a guy.
You know a guy, right? I'm like hashtag stump life. Russ is in. All right.
That's necessary.
Welcome to the club.
He said, "Welcome to the club."
Hey,
I'm a penguin too.
on long van rides, when there's only 2 cup holders in the car, it can also serve as a cup holder for your coffee. So
Pretty nice. Yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty cool. It works out good, especially when somebody pours coffee in it. Anyway,
that only happened once.
Damn,
That
dude, did somebody
just
drink
sounds
it?
terrifying.
yeah, it was somebody was really apologetic, and Josh was like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm just gonna burn my stump. It's okay. No big deal."
It wasn't even hot anymore.
I know it was very cold. It was all right. It was fun. I like how you're having fun with it.
God,
yeah,
yeah.
but
At least
that's
it wasn't me.
oh,
Oh, we
God.
won't name names.
I will. Fuck it. I'll call out anybody. No, it was a good time. We really had fun. Like I said, everyone was like, "I can't believe you drove up for this convention." I'm like, dude, we drove up for we've driven like 4 hours for NJ or 3.5, 4 hours for NJCC, which is a very tiny convention. But it's just because we go to hang out with everybody, visit.
How far was this drive comparatively?
From our house is probably about 6 hours. And
Okay,
then,
so it's just about 90 minutes further away.
yeah, it's about an hour and a half further. I'd say.
Okay.
That ain't bad.
No, it's not bad.
And it was a bigger. Now,
It was way
we were
bigger
all at
than-
TFCon. How much bigger was it? Bigger than TFCon?
If you
said
put
it was
all
like 2 gymnasiums.
Yeah, if you put all the dealers together into one room and like had a big ass room, I think it would be bigger than TFCon's dealer room, easily.
Okay.
There was a lot of people in there selling a whole lot of crazy shit, old stuff, new stuff. I mean, everything. It was.
Nice.
I suppose with the mix, they can get a lot of different vendors.
Yeah, they did, and then they had comic books and people selling little necklaces and things like that, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of arts and crafts shit too. Just so many different things. I think that's what I enjoyed about it the most was all the different vendors they had.
Now they hold that convention twice a year. Is ToyCon twice a year? Or is it just once?
I don't remember if ToyCon is twice a year.
Because I know NJCC is.
And NJCC is, but I don't know if ToyCon is or not. ToyCon is twice a year. Anna says it's twice a year. Okay, she's the brains of the outfit. I'll go with her.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Fuck you, Nick.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I mean that sounds like a really cool show to go to, and closer than going to Chicago for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could make that drive like pretty quick because I didn't do anything. She drove, so I just kind of sat back and chilled and do what I normally do, and
look at Mervin in the chat. Mervin in the chat was joking. He said, if you broke your foot off of Nick's ass, make it the opposite leg so me and you could go shoe shopping together. Here's the thing, Mervin. The prosthetic still has to have a shoe too.
Oh, that's true. But I
So-
remember you had it. You had the shoe on your on your
yeah.
Or are you saying that you had to have it
Or
on
you,
there?
or you could be cheap and just you both use a tennis ball on the end on one shoe.
Dude, you know how I got a big fucking foot and a big fucking fake foot. Do you know how big a tennis ball that would have to be?
I don't know. I was just trying to come up with a helpful solution. I'm sorry for speaking.
No, that's okay.
Somebody's
All
got butthurt. Okay. Oh, that's all good.
You're all
Okay,
right.
Nick, your tennis ball idea was a good idea, Nick. It's fine.
Thank you.
I could
Thank
put
you.
one on each fucking toe. It's great. It's okay.
The tennis balls go on the walker, so it'll slide on carpet and other surfaces.
Yeah, it actually worked pretty well too. When you're a walker, it was pretty nice. I was surprised how well it slid on everything. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all.
right.
All right. We're and yeah, that's about it. But it was a good time. We had fun, and hopefully next time we do it, we can get more people to come up there. It'd be kind of fun to make that a new Realm of Collectors hangout.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a nice spot.
Yeah.
it does. This is the first time you guys have really hit it up that hard, or
Yeah, this was the first time we went up to that one. We are usually in JCC, all the time, but this was the first time going up there. And
okay.
a lot of people were saying that this year was bigger than it has been in the past. So maybe we picked a good year to go. I don't know, a good time to go, I guess.
Hopefully that shit keeps growing, man.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Trying to support it and so they'll keep doing it.
Mhm.
It was pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to another one.
Like NJCC and Toy Con are the only reasons that I get pissed off. I moved out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Well, there's ZolaCon too. That's going to be coming up. I guess in February or something like that. I think it's in February, and I'm like, I think Brink says I think the Horsemen are going to be there, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go to ZolaCon.
So Russ, do they have like stuff at their table on the cheap, or is it just like
Oh yeah, buying from them extremely cheap, $35. 20,
Oh,
25,
wow.
$28.
is that standard retail for their stuff?
That's probably that's usually if you get it from the Kickstarter, I think you can get them for a little bit less actually. If you get them with the Kickstarter.
Dude, those I don't fuck with those, but like they look fucking awesome, and like I think you would just like $30 a figure, man. I think that's well worth it.
That's I unfortunately I spend more for some. I've spent more for some of them, and I've got more coming. But
It looks like you get what you pay for. Like those are the only toys that I've seen that look like the finished samples, like the paint looks just as good as it does in like a hand painted prototype.
Now,
and the sculpt alone are incredible.
Yeah.
Now, are those on like Masters of the Universe classic books, or is it a completely different body style?
Completely different bodies. They did some of the first wave that they did had some kind of Masters of the Universe kind of muscular body style, that kind of thing a little bit. But they did them all. They did them different. Like they didn't take their classic molds and slap a new head on it.
Yeah.
They did new stuff for this line. It's their own. It's definitely their own thing. And the birds, like all the some of the birds that I have, which is some people like them, some people don't. I think they're cool just because their sculpts are amazing. The head sculpts for all of them are just incredible. They got some crazy looking birds, like hornbill and a fucking toucan. That's cool. And and some of these new ones they've got out. I mean, like I'm looking at this one. She's fucking incredible. I mean, she's a goddamn demon, a female demon, and she's just amazing.
She's like a tiefling.
Yeah, they fucking killed it, dude. Our hair hanging on the side.
They've been going with that for a few years now.
Yeah, they have, and they're getting ready to do a new Kickstarter. I think coming up in December, and it's going to be for they're introducing their new it's like a berserkers that they're going to be doing, and they're just going to have ogres. And they're going to be kind of like, and they're going to like basically like juiced up orcs, like taller, bigger motherfuckers.
Lowry says his ex-wife is a demon.
So I've heard. Jason's told me lots of stories. I can, yeah.
All right. I think it's time we move on from Toy-Con and go into
Indeed.
something different. We're almost at our Stan Lee tribute, but first, we had another loss this week in the geeky, nerdy community, and that was screenwriter William Goldman. If the name's not familiar, he's famous for writing Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Papillon, which was
yeah.
Papillon
That
was
was
a
a great movie.
great movie. The Stepford Wives, All the President's Men,
Yeah.
The Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride,
Oh,
Marathon
Oh.
Man.
That's where I know him from, is the Princess Bride the most. So
Not the Val Kilmer movie Heat, but the Burt Reynolds 80s movie Heat.
Mhm.
Like you guys said, Princess Bride,
Yeah.
Misery, the comedy memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase,
Damn.
Year of the Comet, Chaplin, Maverick. He did the screenplay for The Chamber. The one of my, like, not one of my favorite movies, but one of those movies that, like, I have to watch every once in a while. The Ghost in the Darkness,
Mhm.
I remember that. Yeah.
Absolute Power.
Oh, he wrote the script for Absolute Power.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
He also wrote
That-
Hearts in Atlantis and
Holy
Dreamcatcher.
shit.
Hearts in Atlantis,
damn.
Dreamcatcher, sorry. The General's Daughter. Yeah.
man, he had his
Um,
fingers in a lot.
So
That's amazing. Damn.
William Goldman died this week, and a lot of those movies I mentioned are very, very good movies. And the man was nominated and won 2 Academy Awards for his screenplays, one for All the President's Men in '76 and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in '69.
Oh, he did Butch Cassidy's screenplay too.
Yeah.
Mhm. I
Oh.
love that movie when I
So
was
do
love
I.
that movie.
younger.
And
It's
him-
forever.
He was nominated for a couple Golden Globes for Marathon Man, All the President's Men, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Yeah, he was nominated for Hugos and won some. He was nominated for Edgar Allan Poe Awards. So again, another loss this week. I know it's not as big as Stan Lee, but I really thought it was something that should be mentioned because
Oh, definitely, man.
a lot of those movies, are classics that a lot of us enjoy.
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's kind of like, he's sounds like he's got, like you say, he's got his fingerprints on a lot of really good flicks. So
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Princess Bride, man. I mean, I bet
That's
everybody around our age, that's a huge thing of our childhood.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
it
Yeah.
is.
Grew up watching that, man. We watch that like every day.
Yeah. 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 Shit.
Dude, we had the VHS. I think I wore that out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
Andre and Billy Crystal. Come on.
Mhm.
As you wish.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
and
a brilliant
there,
flick.
that's another thing. If you're interested in the Princess Bride, Carrie Elwes wrote a memoir, and I believe it's called As You Wish, about the making of the Princess Bride, and it's got a shitload of Andre the Giant stories in there and shit.
Oh, that'd be cool to read.
Manny Patinkin was in it too. He was really good.
Yep.
Hello, I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Inconceivable.
That's that was good.
I forget that dude's name, but I love him in everything.
Sean
he does.
Wallace or
Sean
Wallace Shawn
Wallace, yeah.
Wallace
Yeah.
Shawn Wallace.
Yeah.
Funny, man.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
say, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
I'm an idiot. I just asked you my Coke.
No.
Oh no! Now you gotta drink that shit
just
with
emulate-
ice.
Just emulate Keith Richards. He
I was
wouldn't
gonna
give a
say,
shit.
now he's got
Yeah,
a
you would
more
totally drink it.
cigarette ash.
If anybody wants to PayPal me $10, I'll go ahead and fucking drain it.
What's your PayPal address? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's SABAA. Oh wait, that's mine.
No, I need Nick's, and I think it's INTHEBUTT.
Pretty much.
Doing the butt. Ow.
Oh my god.
All right, guys.
With a little bit of EU. Go
Um,
ahead, man. Pump that shit out. All right.
All right. This show was named the Soapbox after Stan Lee's little column he used to do in Marvel Comics. Stan's Soapbox. Before that, he did Bullpen Bulletins, and we lost a giant of pop culture, man.
Oh, what a bummer, man.
Whatever you think of him, whatever, if you're a fan of his work or not, I mean, he was a giant. And so what we're going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and go through the history of Stan Lee. And if you guys in the chat or on the panel have something that you want to stop me on and get more clarification, just let me know.
I will say this: you will never see another person more dedicated to their fans than Stan Lee was.
No way, man.
That man, right up to the end.
And it's like wasn't because he needed money.
Never.
No.
You know, I mean, how many times towards the end there was times he was going to cons and couldn't even get up, but he would make it a point to set himself up where the fans could get around him.
Yeah.
And like that is one thing that I like with this, I'll say it's like the only saving grace is it like given how his health was, at least like I'm like, okay, is this gonna be any day now? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like I could like prepare myself a little bit in that regard, but man, it still fucking hurt.
Dude, I was at work and it was like a wreck of a day, man. I was just grumpy with everyone after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's lift one up for lift one up for him.
Open this bitch.
Yeah.
Here's the stand.
Come in, baby. Here's to Stan.
Stan Lee, man.
Hey, now you gotta
Stanley.
go your ash laced fucking drink. Go ahead.
No. See, like I filled this cup up like 3/4 with rum. So I've been pouring Coke in it as I've been drinking it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, yeah, now I'm full on rum.
Straight rum. All right. Nice.
He's taking Excelsior to the next level.
Hell yeah, man.
So I figured we go ahead and start. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say a point that I brought up. You know, there's always been the arguments who's responsible for what. Doesn't matter in the end, you know.
No, man.
The influence that he had in the properties that he helped to create and bring to life and shape. How it fashioned all of our interests. If it had not been for Stan Lee, would we even know each other?
Yeah.
Dude, exactly.
That's a very valid point.
Exactly.
Good point. He had his fingerprints on a lot, man.
It's like comics, like they're always just so easily dismissed, man. But like he wasn't the only one that did this, but like he used that medium to like tackle social issues and
Absolutely.
things like that.
Yeah, we'll be getting into
we'll get to that, but
we'll be getting into the drug issue and all that stuff too.
Well, think about it too. I mean, Marvel Comics even had their hands in the Transformers.
Well, they created with Hasbro.
That's true. They actually,
they created the story.
Yeah.
You know, had Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko not created the Marvel universe like they did in the 60s for Marvel to survive, because they were about bankrupt before they started hitting with the Avengers and Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Well, if it hadn't been for them creating the universe they did, would Marvel Comics had been around? You know, Transformers may have been as successful as the GoBots had.
Right.
You know, who's to say? You know, and
I'm sorry, Josh, you lost me when you said GoBots. What? Are you kidding me? No way.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, that if things had just gone differently, who's to say that, you know, one would be huge still today and one would be a laughing stock and an afterthought, you know? But while Stan Lee wasn't directly responsible for the success of those properties, it was his and his co-creators, their influence that made it possible. And just, I think that's what has brought people like us together worldwide.
Yeah, and
So super
Well,
influential.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, if you think about it too, Marvel Comics and Stan Lee and those guys, they were almost single-handedly responsible for the normalization of comics in the mainstream world. I mean,
Yeah, through movies.
even before that, we're talking
Yeah.
back in the 60s, 70s.
Animation, the live action shows.
Yeah.
Expanding that audience, man.
A good point. Yeah.
Marvel, I mean, if Marvel had not have done that, would we have other comic places like DC, Valiant, all that? I mean, would they have been able to survive on the niche market?
Well, DC, yes, because
DC had their own stuff, and they had a couple of TV shows in the 70s too.
True.
Well, yeah, Wonder Woman and
Batman
in the 60s, Wonder Woman in the 70s, but they also
and
had
Plastic Man, Shazam.
Shazam was still on
Super Friends.
But yeah, Josh, like that point you made just about bringing people together, because like you go to cons and just like see the diverse crowd of people, like all ages, all races, all different religions and shit. I'm sure, but it's that common ground,
And
so like even if the medium, like you could say it's like goofy kid fantasy stuff, but like there's power in that ability to bring people together for whatever reason,
Yeah.
And just before we start, I want to say fuck all you SJWs trying to say Stan Lee's problematic. Fucking learn your history. If you want to go ahead and fuck with a man because in his 90s and he was getting a little senile, he might have grabbed an ass or two. Fuck you.
You know what? He was preaching. He was teaching social issues and.
Yeah, when nobody was doing that shit, Rob.
We're talking, back in the 60s and 70s. He was pushing diversity and
using his platform, man.
Yes. And besides that, Stan Lee used to go to universities and talk about these issues.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He was slammed a million times for the X-Men because they caught on really early what he was doing.
Yeah, like what the point of creating them was.
Having Professor X be an analog for Martin Luther King and Magneto more of an analog for Malcolm X.
Yeah.
People caught on to that. People, Stan Lee was a civil rights pioneer in literature.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight out. So. All right.
Well, so if you look at the X-Men, it was pretty. It was almost like satire for shit that was going on in real life. In fact, a lot of comic book stories.
Yeah, that's what
Stan Lee was involved with. That's what comics exactly are. They're a lot of satire for real life issues, and they're put in a comic form. And if you're smart enough to see it, you'll see it. If you're not, then you'll just go, "Oh, look at the pretty comic."
Marvel Comics taught me for a young age. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, or green. We're all equal.
Hell yeah,
man. Good point. Yeah.
All right. So the message is fuck the haters, and this is our loving tribute to Stan Lee. All right. Stan Lee was born Stanley Martin Lieber in December 28th of 1922. Stan had one brother. His name was Larry Lieber, who actually was a co-creator with him at Marvel Comics. He was born to two Romanian Jewish parents, Celia and Jack Lieber. He was born in Manhattan, started and lived in two places in Manhattan before moving to the Bronx. Stan Lee had a uncle named Robbie Solomon, who had some influence with a man named Martin Goodman, who owned Timely Comics. Stan was actually the nephew of Martin Goodman's wife. So a story that Stan used to tell was that he got his job at Timely by answering an ad, but actually Joe Simon, one of the co-creators of Captain America, set him straight. because Lee had been telling that story for years, and all of a sudden, he was like, I don't actually remember what happened. So in the appendix of Joe Simon's autobiography, The Comic Makers, here's the story between him and Stan. He said that he was talking to Stan in 1989, and Lee said, I've been saying this classified ad stories for years, but apparently it isn't so, and I can't remember because I've said it so long that I believe it. So Joe Simon says, your Uncle Robbie brought you into the office one day, and he said, this is Martin Goodman's wife's nephew. You were 17 years old. Stan Lee, 16 and a half. Simon, well, Stan, you told me 17. You were probably trying to be older. I did hire you. So at that time, Timely Comics was published again by Martin Goodman.
Wasn't that kind of like the precursor to Marvel? Because I know
It's one of the precursors to Marvel. Because of different legal issues, Timely changed to Atlas Comics, I believe, in the 50s. And then when they started Fantastic Four #1, that was the first Marvel comic.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, Stan was a gopher at first. He was filling the inks for Kirby and Simon. He had his comic book debut with filler text, basically meaning that he did part of the dialogue that Simon didn't do in Captain America Comics #3 in 1941. He also introduced Captain America's trademark of being able to bounce his shield around. The ricocheting shield toss.
Right, we can throw it and shit. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So even though Kirby and Simon created Captain America, Stan added in, even at that young age, something that made a huge, impact to Captain America.
Mhm.
Stan Lee's first superhero co-creation was the Destroyer in Mystic Comics #6. He also created Jack Frost in USA Comics #1 and Father Time, who debuted in Captain America Comics #6. There were some creative differences with Kirby and Simon, with the publisher. Sorry about that. This fucking mic is pissing me off. Basically, Kirby and Simon didn't think Goodman was paying them enough, so they left for DC. So that left a huge void because back in the day, comics were basically a studio system. Whereas, like, it may say done by Joe Schmo, but what actually ended up happening was there
I
was
thought his name was Joe Schuster.
yeah. Basically, they would all be in one apartment drawing these things and getting them fucking done for publishing dates.
Damn, dude.
So it was just crazy. Goodman was the publisher at Marvel Comics until 1972, when he was actually succeeded by Stan Lee. Stan Lee entered the U.S. Army in 1942 and served as a member of the Signal Corps. He repaired telegraph poles and communications equipment. He was later transferred to the film division, where he worked writing manuals, training films, and occasionally cartooning. So that gives you a little bit of background on Stan back then and what he was doing in the Army, which gives you kind of a clue for what comes later, as Stan was, coming up with these characters and marketing them. And this seems to be, where he was and where he got that. And now during the 50s, the company changed to Atlas Comics. And they weren't really publishing superhero books because superhero books were not selling. So mostly
they were doing a lot of like westerns and
It wasn't like
detective and romance and stuff.
And romance and horror books and things like that. The horror and suspense books ended with the Comics Code Authority
Mhm.
which basically targeted EC Comics, which was a company run by a man named William Gaines. And William Gaines and EC Comics were responsible for Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, and things like that. The Comics Code Authority banned the use of vampires in comics. You couldn't show law enforcement officials in a bad light. No vampires. You couldn't have a villain win. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that fucking basically hamstrung EC Comics and put them out of business, and they were bought by DC Comics, which was a bless you was a subsidiary of a company called National, who was later bought out in the early 70s by Warner Brothers.
Hmm.
Then basically what ended up happening was DC in the really late 50s, I think 57 or 58 was the first Flash. They this is the Barry Allen Flash, and that's considered the beginning of the Silver Age of comics. They were having great success with the Flash, and then what the big blockbuster was Justice League of America. So they're having these huge hits with superheroes again. And
real quick, was that like the first superhero team officially?
no,
No.
the Justice Society of America and the
Oh, right
All-Star
on.
and the All-Star Squadron, and Marvel even had the Invaders back in the day with Captain America, the Submariner, Bucky, the original Human
Yeah, he
Torch.
was old. He was
Mhm.
old. Okay.
Yeah, the original Human Torch was an android.
Yes. I can't remember exactly what his name was. It was Hector
Toro?
something. In Toro. Yeah, see, the Invaders each had like a little except for Namor, they had like a little sidekick. Because Robin became so popular in the Batman books.
I see. So they thought they'd go the sidekick route, try to. Okay,
Right.
I got it.
So they had the Invaders, which was basically, the big four of the Invaders, and then their little sidekicks.
Oh, right on, right on.
And another thing to note about Stan Lee, his pen name Stan Lee, as his name was Stanley Lieber. Stan always thought that he was going to write the great American novel, and he didn't want his name, put to these comic books, because he thought that it was going to bring it down
Yeah.
when he wrote the great American
Damn, I
novel.
didn't know that, man. That's funny.
That's interesting that he fancied himself as being this big novelist, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus,
Well,
that's great.
Stan got sick and tired of doing romance and horror books, and so he was going to quit Atlas Comics. And his wife, Joan, who died a year or two ago before Stan did last year, suggested that if he was going to quit and it was that bad, that he do what he wanted to do. So he decided to do some superheroes. And the great innovation of Stan Lee is that his heroes were human.
Yeah.
Every single one of his heroes had an issue, no matter if they were based on something else or whatever it was. Stan Lee humanized his heroes, whereas DC held their characters up as paragons.
Yeah, and like even Batman, I mean, the dude's like a billion, so it's like puts him on a different level where you can't relate to him as much.
Yeah,
Right.
versus like Spider-Man, who's some teenage boy living in an apartment on
Like
minimum wage.
bills and shit. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
So the first thing that Stan came up with was the Fantastic Four, and he was working with Jack Kirby. And in the 50s, like I said, Kirby had left Marvel and went to DC and done a book called Challengers of the Unknown. And so basically they reworked Challengers of the Unknown into a group that Lee could work with, and they came up with the Fantastic Four. and it was immediately popular. Stan had the recognition he wanted, and he basically had the green light to do whatever he wanted.
Ah.
Yeah.
So next came the Hulk,
Mm-hmm.
Thor, Iron Man,
Amazing.
X-Men. He co-created Daredevil. Those were the books he did with Kirby.
Right.
He went with Bill Everett to do Daredevil.
Mhm.
Steve Ditko, he did Doctor Strange with, and also Spider-Man. Now, the thing that most people don't know is that the first artist on Spider-Man was actually Jack Kirby,
Mhm.
and Stan Lee decided that Kirby wouldn't work for
He made him
Spider-Man.
too heroic.
That's
He made
right.
him look too larger than life. He wanted him,
Right.
kind of more everyman.
Right. He wanted a slighter character for Spider-Man, and Kirby's artwork didn't work. Then,
But if you look at the cover of Amazing Fantasy 15 with Spider-Man on it, that was Kirby's cover and not Ditko's.
right. Then they went ahead and started the Avengers. And your first Avengers group was the Ant-Man, the Wasp, who were in movies, the Hulk,
Iron Man.
Iron Man, and I believe that was it, and Thor. And they
Yeah,
were
and their first villain was Loki.
right. And then as it went on, it became more Captain America centric once they unfroze Captain America and used him as a parallel for they were getting a little upset about the Vietnam War, and they were getting nostalgic, so they brought a character back that could relate to their point of view into what was going on in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all of these beautiful creations between Stan, Kirby, Ditko, Everett, Bashima, John Romita Sr., and stuff like that. And people like that, they reinvigorated comic books. Because as soon as Marvel started to become more successful,
Right.
DC started to pump out more books.
Right. DC started following suit. Yeah, that's
Right.
amazing.
So, Stan started doing things differently. Because of his experience of marketing in the army, he started doing things like the Merry Marvel Marching Society.
Yeah, I remember
What?
they put out that record.
Yeah, that was it. And there was a record, and you could pay to be in the Marvel fan club, which was the Merry Marvel Marching Society, and you got a record with Stan Lee, Jack Kirby singing a song.
Good God, dude, I love it.
It's
Yeah.
funny. You can find it. I can't remember what DVD or what I saw it on. It's in one of the extras. He was talking about that though, and they actually played the song. I can't remember what it was in though.
I think one of the versions of the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire came with a documentary called Marvel's Merry Mutants and Masterminds.
That's what it was. That's what it was on.
And that's what it was on, yeah. Following Ditko's departure from Marvel in '66, John Romita Sr. became Lee's collaborator on Spider-Man.
Dude's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And within a year, it overtook Fantastic Four to become the company's top seller.
Yeah.
I
love Romita's work on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And this was when it became more topical. They started addressing Vietnam, elections. Robbie Robertson was introduced, was one of the first African-American characters in comics to play a serious supporting role.
Yeah.
Also during this time in the 60s going into the 70s, up until Brian Michael Bendis broke the record with Mark Bagley on Ultimate Spider-Man, Lee and Kirby had the longest continuous run as a creative team on any book in Fantastic Four. They did
Damn.
102 issues together.
Damn, dude.
It's pretty
Now-
impressive.
Now, the movies may have sucked for Fantastic Four, but if you're a comics fan, a lot of the things that you love were introduced in Fantastic Four.
Dude, I cut my teeth hard on syndicated
Bro.
comics with Fantastic Four.
Yeah. There, Black Panther, Fantastic Four. Adam
Yeah.
Warlock, Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
The Inhumans, Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Doctor Doom. And a lot of people don't know this, but Doctor Doom didn't show up until issue 5.
Yeah.
No, that's true. You're right.
And I mean, Galactus, the Silver Surfer.
Fuck him.
Russ's favorite.
I was gonna say Russ's favorite superhero wouldn't exist, man.
What a waste of ink. God. Christ.
Are you gonna go into that 45-minute Silver Surfer segment now, Nick?
I really should, yeah.
Rob muted Russ.
Hey, go hate, motherfucker. You know.
Don't get a hater.
Stanley at different times has said two characters were his favorite characters that he created.
Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer and Spider-Man.
I lost all respect for Stanley now. I'm kidding.
The MPSP theater does not condone the opinions of Russ the Moss.
Now, after his long run on Fantastic Four, he stopped writing monthly comics to assume the role of publisher, and his final issue of Amazing Spider-Man was Amazing Spider-Man 110 in July of 1972. And he had left Fantastic Four for, I believe, 4 or 5 issues, and basically he wrote 20 more issues of Fantastic Four going up to 125, which would have been in August of 1972.
Damn.
So after he was done there, he and his brother still. Another thing to mention is the Spider-Man newspaper comic strip. They launched that in 1977, and that was between Stan Lee and his brothers, Larry Lieber. Larry Lieber just stopped doing that strip 2 years ago. And it was launched in 77.
That's pretty impressive. That's a long run, dude.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Lee's final collaboration with Jack Kirby was The Silver Surfer, The Ultimate Cosmic Experience, published in 78 with Marvel's Fireside book series, and is considered to be Marvel's first graphic novel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Lee and Buscema, John Buscema, not Sal, produced the first issue of The Savage She-Hulk in 80, which introduced the Jennifer Walters, the cousin of the Hulk.
Dude, she's cool, man.
And with Buscema, he did another Silver Surfer story for Epic Illustrated #1 in 1980. He moved to California in 81 and started developing Marvel's TV and movie properties. He was an executive producer and made a huge amount of cameo appearances. He did voiceover work for different cartoons.
Right. Which is where I remember hearing him from as a kid.
Yeah, the Saturday morning host of the Marvel Power Hour. That was really my first exposure to Stan Lee back in, I think, 81.
And he came back to writing different one-shots. He did one with John Byrne called the Judgment Day graphic novel for the Silver Surfer. These last ones that he did before we get into his later work were all Silver Surfer tales.
There you go,
he did Judgment Day with John Buscema. He did Parable with the French artist Mobius, which if you can ever grab that, it's a completely if you've ever seen Mobius's work, it's a completely different style of work. The closest thing that I can tell you that Mobius would come to would be like a Frank Quitely style.
Okay.
And then he did the Enslavers graphic novel with Keith Pollard. Stan became the president of the entire company and soon stepped down to become the publisher instead, finding that being the president, he was dealing with too much finance and numbers and not enough about the process. He wasn't involved, creating and writing and telling the stories that he wanted to tell.
Too bad that he ended his writing stuff. His last things he worked on was the Silver Surfer. God,
Silver Surfer again, depending on what day you caught him on, the Silver Surfer or the Amazing Spider-Man was his two favorite characters that he ever worked on.
Russ, don't make me mute you again. Don't be knocking my Surfer. I love me some Silver Surfer.
No, dude.
Shiny and chrome.
Oh God.
Well, the thing was that the Silver Surfer was probably Stan Lee's most out there work. There's a little bit of controversy about the creation of the Surfer because basically Stan Lee used what was called the Marvel method in writing his comic books, and what that was basically Stan Lee would send a
synopsis more or less to the artist.
Right.
The artist would plan the layout.
Right.
And then Stan would pencil it after it was done.
Well, Stan wasn't an artist, so he wasn't penciling shit.
No,
but,
he
would do his dialogue.
When I mean penciling, I meant the dialogue. That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So with the Silver Surfer, Stan never wrote him into Fantastic Four 48 through 50. Jack Kirby decided that someone as big and bad as Galactus would need a herald. And Stan was like, what do you mean a herald? He was like, he needed someone that would come and, announce.
That's a fancy word for bitch. Yeah.
Russ, I'm going to eject you from the call. So during the 90s, which some people consider the dark times in comics, Stan stepped away from Marvel. Starting in the early 90s, he was known as the Chairman Emeritus, which means chairman for life. It sounds like Mao Zedong. And he got $1 million a year salary.
Chairman Stan.
Yeah, just so that they could use his likeness and continue to use ideas that he used, and he signed a lot of his rights away at that point. He started Stan Lee Media, which unfortunately filed for Chapter 11 in 2001. He started POW Entertainment to try and develop film, television, and video game properties. Lee created Stripperella for Spike TV.
Nice.
Stan also sued Marvel in 2002 after the success of Spider-Man and the X-Men. He's claimed that the company was failing to pay his share of profits from the movies featuring the characters he had co-created because he had done so as an employee. Stan never had a work for hire contract like Kirby, Ditko, and the rest because Stan was also an executive and publisher.
Okay. All right. I
see. Stan and Marvel settled. Marvel promised 10% of any future profits. They also gave him an undisclosed 7-figure amount.
Damn, dude. That dude's caked.
So, unfortunately, this starts to go into the dark times for Stan. Stan started a company called POW, which stood for Power of Wonder. Stan Lee Media was purchased by a man named Jim Nesfield, and the company filed a lawsuit in 2007 against Marvel for $5 billion, claiming Lee had given his rights to several Marvel characters to Stan Lee Media in exchange for stock and salary. In June 2007, Stan Lee Media sued Stan Lee.
Oh Jesus!
Wow.
His new company, POW, and their subsidiary QED Entertainment. So basically, Stan Lee's last few years have been marred by legal problems.
Yeah.
You know, he did have a show on the Sci-Fi Channel, Who Wants to Be a Superhero.
Right. Yeah.
He wrote.
Yeah, I remember watching that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote some novels during this time. I believe the first one was Mosaic. Then he wrote one called Zodiac. There was a film called Stanley's Annihilator based on a Chinese prisoner turned superhero named Ming, and was released in 2015. Now, during most of his career, Stan Lee was completely loyal to Marvel. Well, Stan and DC decided that they were going to do a line called
I remember
Just
that.
Imagine,
Yep.
where it was Stan Lee doing the DC characters his way.
Oh, I
Yep.
remember that.
I actually have the Just Imagine If Stan Lee Created Superman book.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, no kidding.
Are you fucking? I've never heard of this, guys. This is news
yeah,
to me.
Google it.
Me either.
Dude,
Never
it's
did this.
pretty interesting, especially how he did Batman and the artists and the amount of artists he fucking worked with. Just real quick, the 2 one-shots he did a text piece in 89 for Detective Comics, number 600, about his feelings about Batman. He did DC Comics Presents Superman number 1 in 2004. Now the other ones that he did under the Just Imagine line were Aquaman with Scott McDaniel,
Wow.
Batman with Joe Kubert, Catwoman with Chris Bacalo, Crisis with John Cassaday. If you guys are familiar, he had a really good run of covers on X-Men and Captain America.
Yeah.
Cassaday.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the what was that X-Men book?
Astonishing with Whedon.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That dude's good.
He did a Flash book with Kevin McGuire, Green Lantern with Dave Gibbons, JLA with Jerry Ordway, Robin with John Byrne, Sandman with Walt Simonson. Secret Files and Origins was basically a collaborative book where they basically tried to give you the origins and everything of the characters that he was doing. He did Shazam with Gary Frank, Superman with John Buscema, and Wonder Woman with Jim Lee.
That's incredible to me. I never knew that Stan Lee did any work on DC characters ever. I never knew that.
Me either.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that was once
These
a month for a year.
These
put out a new
Just Imagine book comics. How many of those did he do?
There were 12.
The ones
12. So those were all the ones he did.
Mm-hmm.
How? Oh God, I gotta go find those.
There was Josh is right. There was 12, and then there was the 13th one was the Secret Files and Origins, which was like a source book.
That's pretty cool. I just want to. I'd like to find a few of them and read them actually, and just see. Just the Batman one sounds enticing to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember how many I do have, but I know for a fact I do have the Superman one.
The Superman one sounds like it might be pretty good too. It sounds
Superman
interesting.
one was nuts. Batman was interesting, and if I remember correctly, Green Lantern was really awful.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh wow! I'm gonna have to go looking for those, dude. I'm gonna go find them.
I've got to see Stan Lee's take on Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? I mean, wow, damn.
Now these are his runs for Marvel Comics. Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 100.
That's incredible.
105 to 110. 116 to 118. The 200th anniversary issue, which I believe he did a backup in. Annuals 1 through 5 and 18. And he also did backup stories as late as 2010 into 2011 and 634 through 645. The Amazing Spider-Man comic strips, they're going to say till 2008 because he was collaborating with his brother Larry Lieber. 1977 to 2018. That was a weekly strip, sometimes daily. It depended on the newspaper demand. He did 1 through 35 of the Avengers. Captain America, which continued from Tales of Suspense. He did 100 through 141. Daredevil 1 through 9. He skipped issue 10, went through 11 to 50, did number 53 in the first annual. Volume 2, where it was brought back by Marvel Knights. He did a backup story in Daredevil 20. Marvel Comics had an imprint called Epic. He did the Silver Surfer story in number 1 in 1980. Now here we go with Fantastic Four 1 through 114.
Oh man.
Skipped 6 issues, went through 120 to 125. The first 6 annuals, and also he wrote number 296 in 1986. He did.
Jesus.
Yeah. He did the Incredible Hulk, which was 1 through 6. Volume 2 of the Incredible Hulk was changed from Tales to Astonish, and he did. Oh God, let's see here. 108 to 120.
Nice.
Thor, Journey into Mystery, 83 through 96. He was the plotter because Kirby did a lot of that. If you look at Thor, that's probably the most Kirby book in Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the Celestials, Odin, the
Right.
Asgardian architecture.
Yeah.
Then he was credited as the writer from 97 to 125. The first annual. The Mighty Thor, when they changed it from Journey into Mystery to just the Mighty Thor, 126 to 192. He did Kiss Nation, the Kiss comic book Marvel did in the 90s, 96. He did that. There was a book called Night Cat in 91. In Marvel's 2099 initiative, where they did future versions of different comic characters.
All of those.
The only original one was a character called Ravage, and he did 1 through 7 of that. Savage She-Hulk, the first episode. Savage Tales in 1971. Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, 1 through 28 in the first annual. And that's a funny story. He handed that over to Jim Steranko, who had a large run on
He did
Fury.
Nick Fury, right?
Yeah, he did a huge run on Fury.
That dude was cool.
I did that.
And that's one of the most iconic runs in Marvel that gets no friggin' credit.
Yeah, nobody appreciates that, man.
Then all the Silver Surfer stuff I mentioned earlier, 1 through 18. The first issue of Volume 2. The Judgment Day book. Parable, issues 1 through 2. The Enslavers. And also the book with Mobius, which I forget the name of.
I turned my camera off so y'all can't see my faces. So I'm making right now. So some
Yeah, but you forgot to turn your mic off, so we can't hear you.
Now,
Russ.
yeah. He also did a book from Marvel called Solar Man, which I've never heard
Oh,
of in my
wow.
life.
Probably a Human Torch knockoff. That's good.
Probably. The Spectacular Spider-Man magazine, which had 2 issues. Spectacular Spider-Man Annual number 10 in 1990. And most of the annuals had multiple stories back in the days.
Yeah,
Annuals used to be oversized books.
that's what they were. They would basically be like a double comic. Basically, it was like sometimes a triple comic almost. You know.
And in the 80s and 90s, Marvel also did something with their annuals that DC copied, which was do an interlocking story with them.
Yeah.
Like Atlantis Attacks, the Kang War. I can't remember the other ones, but so you were getting a whole bang for your buck with the annuals back in the day.
A lot of times you would have a lot of other characters would be introduced in an annuals too.
Yeah,
right?
and that's also where they started with the trading cards.
Right. I remember I used to look forward to annuals. Actually, they were one of the things I really loved and enjoyed. You know, so when you would get them, you never knew what you were going to get into it. You know, Spider-Man could be rolling along in a good storyline, and then an annual comes out, and you got all these other characters they could end up getting involved in it. It was pretty fun.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Strange Tales number 9. Now these were the ones before the Marvel time. These were published by Atlas. Number 9, 11, 74, 89.
That was their old horror stories, wasn't it?
That and also it actually introduced Ant-Man.
No kidding.
Oh, cool.
Shit, fucking
damn, dude.
Off somewhere.
I didn't think he was been around that long.
Yeah,
Ant-Man, yeah, he's been around for a while.
He started with some Human Torch background stories, and 101 to 109. Skipped 3 issues and did 112 through 133 and the second annual. Then Doctor Strange was in Strange Tales. He did that 110 through 111, 115 through 142, 151 through 158. Those are all Doctor Strange tales going anywhere from 1962 to 1967. And then Strange Tales started with the Nick Fury stuff, and that's where afterwards Steranko took over this title, and Sergeant Fury was canceled. So that was 135 through 147 and 150 through 152. Tales to Astonish. Again, these are pre-Marvel stories. Number 1, 6, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 24 through 33. Then as you get into the Marvel age, it was Ant-Man and Giant Man in issues 35 through 69. The Hulk, 59 through 101. And the Submariner had backups in the Hulk books from 70 to 101. Now, then you go into Tales of Suspense, number 7, 9, 16, 22, 27, and then 29 through 30. Then this is where Iron Man started. He was the plotter from 39 to 46. That was all in 1963. Then he was the writer from 47 through 98. Then Tales from Suspense became a Captain America, had Captain America backups in 58 through 86, and then 88 through 99. He wrote a backup in Web of Spider-Man Annual number 6. There was a what if story with the Fantastic Four and What If 200 in 2011. I believe that was a one shot. And the first 19 issues of X-Men.
That's cool because I didn't know he ever did any. I didn't know he had ever done a what if a what if issue. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What if is awesome comics. Yeah, that's a good book.
So that's your Stan Lee publication in history.
Dude,
Um,
very
That
cool.
was really cool.
Very
Thank you for
cool,
that.
man. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Nick. I actually learned a lot of shit that I didn't even know about. Damn.
The
Dude,
class.
we've got to find them DC crossover ones, man.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
looking.
those
I'm
were
gonna look.
interesting.
I'm actually looking through my stash right now to see if I can find those DC
I'm-
titles.
I'm gonna go hunting for those and see if I can buy them somewhere because I just want to get a hold of them and read them.
Now,
That's
one thing I wanted to get into is the drug issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
It was a 3-issue story that appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 96 through 98, and I think that it's an interesting story. He did an interview in the Comic Book Artist, which used to be this huge magazine done by Roy Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
who was basically Stan Lee's protege. Roy Thomas ended up becoming an editor for Marvel and did a little bit of writing too for Avengers and some other titles. So here's the question from Roy to Stan. Do you still have the letter from the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare which prompted you to write the narcotics issue of Spider-Man? Now let that sink in for a second.
Wow.
The American government asked Stan Lee
Oh,
to
damn.
write an anti-drug ad in Spider-Man for 3, and it ended up being 3 issues.
Well,
You
I
must
mean,
have got influence when.
yeah. As I was gonna say, you've touched a nerve, and you're considered pop culturally, really a big time icon, I guess.
Yeah.
It's at least he wasn't one of those rock stars that would do the don't do drug commercials while they were high.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit. So
It's not like he was. It's not like he was Jim Starlin doing acid writing Warlock.
sure. Hey, and whatever you gotta do to get the juices going. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Well, Stan's answer to that was there used to be a scrapbook in the office, and it's still around. The letter would be in there. I haven't seen it in a million years. I got this letter. I don't remember the exact wording, and they were concerned about drug use among kids. Since Marvel had such a great influence with young people, they thought it would be very commendable if we were to put out some sort of anti-drug message in our books. I felt that the only way to do it was make it a part of the story. And we made that 3-parter of Spider-Man. I remember it contained one scene where a kid was going to jump off a roof and thought he could fly.
Yeah.
My problem is that I know less about drugs than any living human being. I didn't know what kind of drug it was that would make you think you could fly. I don't think I named anything. I just said that he had done something. During the story also, Harry Osborn was the Green Goblin
Right.
at this point. And they, what the fuck? I was hearing some weird drum tisk for a second. They made Harry Osborn into a drug addict also. And after this was done, Denny O'Neil did the Green Lantern, Green Arrow crossover issue with Roy Harper being addicted to heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that if it was okay with you guys, we go into some of the tributes to Stan from different people.
Dude, hell yeah,
For
man.
sure.
Yeah,
That's pretty
actually.
awesome. Actually.
Also, my co-host on All Queued Up, Greg, he had to work tonight. He really wanted to come on the show, but he said if you didn't mind, would I read the tweet he sent out, when the news broke about Stan passing away when we get into the tribute part.
Mhm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If that's okay. Oh, okay. I'll go ahead and do it right now. Yeah. He's like, for anybody that knows me, Spider-Man isn't only my favorite superhero, but it was the first time I saw myself in a character. I was shy, meek, and closed off, but if I put on a mask or hell, even sunglasses, I felt far more outgoing. Peter Parker was this person, and I felt that we both shared an interest in science and had the same taste in redheads. He said, "Oh, he was the genius." He says, "Peter showed me what it meant to be a good person and what sacrifice meant. And Stan Lee gave me and millions of others just that. He showed us what family means, what bravery really is, what weakness is, and how to overcome it, and how to overcome our personal demons.
Mm-hmm.
How to treat people like humans and not animals. He gave us what we needed at the time, and will continue to do so for generations to come. And we will miss him greatly. Rest in peace, Stan.
Here,
That's well.
man.
That was well said, and well put.
Well put.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed.
I'm gonna go ahead and start screen sharing, and we'll get into some of the tributes to Stan. And excuse the myriad of millions of fucking names.
It's a tunnel. All right. Anyway.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just my Twitter thing? Okay.
Yep.
From Chris Evans, there will never be another Stan Lee. For decades, he provided both young and old with adventure, escape, comfort, confidence, inspiration, strength, friendship, and joy. He exuded love and kindness and will leave an indelible mark on so many lives. Excelsior. Now, a lot of people have seen Excelsior from Stan, but don't know what it means. Excelsior
Mhm.
was a word that Stan was looking for a sign off for, and he came across an old Gaelic word, Excelsior, and what it means is onward and upward.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he actually said it was like the official state word of New York or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Here's Kevin Feige, the current head honcho at Marvel Studios, basically, who's given us all the Marvel stages is now taking over the X-Men. No one has had more of an impact on my career and everything we do at Marvel Studios than Stan Lee. Stan Lee is an extraordinary legacy that will outlive us all. Our thoughts are with his daughter, his family, and his millions of fans. Hashtag thank you, Stan. Hashtag Excelsior.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill.
Oh, thank God. Love this dude.
Mark Hamill, his contribution to pop culture was revolutionary and cannot be overstated. He was everything you hoped he would be and more. I love this man and will never stop missing him. They say you should never meet a childhood idol. They are wrong.
Oh, that's
Oh.
cool.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. I like how you put that down.
Hey, this one was cool. The DC one that they
DC
did
Yeah.
Comics.
was cool.
Amazing.
He changed the way we look at heroes, and modern comic books will always bear his indelible mark. His infectious enthusiasm remind us why we all fell in love with these stories in the first place.
Dude, that's what we were talking about earlier. Is his enthusiasm, like in his voice, man. Because it's like he like when he talked, it's like fucking Mr. Rogers. Like it like made
Yeah.
you feel like a kid again.
But it would get you
I thought-
pumped up. You would get excited because he was
Yeah.
excited. You know, it was a great thing. You know?
Oh God, you're all bummed out now.
My favorite cameo from him wasn't even in a Marvel flick. It was in a Jay and Silent Bob flick, Mallrats.
course.
Small rats where he got
Yeah.
paid off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just his that demeanor he has.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, Seth Rogen. That's
Seth
pretty good.
Rogen. Thank you,
Yeah,
Stan, Lee,
that's-
for making people who feel different realize they are special.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the underrated ones, the Seth Rogen.
Yeah. I agree.
Because anybody that felt like an outcast in Red Comics, you felt like you were a part of the Marvel universe because you were reading Stan's Soapbox and he was talking to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Stan in the 60s and 70s came out against racism, homophobia, and anything else you can think of. Stan Lee was the man.
Yeah, I agree.
He proved you could have social justice and not be a douche about it.
Absolutely.
He did it in ways that like back then you couldn't have like I don't know how to word this, but it's like people who were like I saw this like this thing about comic books, like some documentary, and this guy was like, if you were like African American or Mexican or like gay or just like a fucking nerd, like you could relate to these characters and like you didn't see yourself. Like if you were in one of those, like any type of those like minority groups, like back then you didn't see yourself represented anywhere in any kind of media,
Right.
except for comic books, you know.
And he and Kirby came out with the Black Panther. And
Yeah.
in the Black Panther's first appearance, he fucked the Fantastic Four up.
Mm-hmm.
That's-
You know,
yeah,
he didn't make him like a tertiary character that just, you know, was there as a token black person. He was shown as a powerful character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike a lot of the stereotypes that had come before, like fucking Pie Face in DC who hung out with the Green Lantern and stupid shit like that.
That's a good point.
These shoes here were worn by Spencer Dinwiddie of the New Jersey, New York, Brooklyn Nets. Sorry, it's been so many different fucking things.
That's super cool.
This was his tribute to Stan Lee, and I had another picture, but I lost it. What it says is "Rest in superpowers."
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
This is the U.S. Army. Rest in peace, soldier, because Stan Lee was a veteran.
He sure
Yeah.
was.
Mm-hmm.
Comic book creator at the real Stan Lee has passed away at the age of 95. Lee served in the U.S. Army Signal Corps during World War II from 1942 to 1945. We are deeply grateful for his service to our country and for his tremendous support to service members. That's another point. Stan Lee pioneered one of the distribution services for comics for soldiers.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I know a lot of soldiers growing up in military, Brett, that benefited from that too. Some of that shit got them right through tours of duty in badass places.
Now, this is Steranko, who was one of the last of the old guard, and this is his little tribute to Stan. Stan Lee died a little while ago. We should all have been prepping for the eventuality, but it's still no less a shock to the cultural universe, especially to me because he was my mentor and we've stayed in touch more than 50 years. It's the end of an era. Rip, my old friend.
Look at Jim Steranko looking like the goddamn collector, man.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he
Dude.
does.
We should do kind of like a spotlight episode on Steranko because he
Sure.
had probably one of the most incredible lives in the history of comics.
Cool. As
Oh my
fuck.
god, yeah.
He's some of his work is incredible, dude. Too.
Well, besides his work, Russ, do you know,
You know.
like what he was before he was a comic writer?
What did he do?
He was a fucking escape artist.
No shit.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was one,
That's
he,
fucking
he
cool.
was a fucking rock and roll star. He was the first person to actually use like go-go dancers.
Damn.
Wow.
Dude,
What
that's
a life, man. This
Hey,
dude-
we gotta talk about that.
Dude, Keith Moon is jealous of that guy.
Don't you?
Steranko's a fucking rock star. I mean,
Yeah, he
I
is.
love motherfuckers that have all these like multiple like successes. You know what I mean?
Well-
Where they've done
well,
all that shit,
have you
know?
guys heard
It's
of Miracle
amazing.
Man?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Miracle Man was based on Jim Steranko by Jack Kirby. Jack
Oh,
Kirby
that's-
based a comic book character on Steranko.
That's really cool, man. I did not know all that. That's pretty awesome about him. That's
Steranko.
damn.
Yeah. He also wrote one of the first encompassing histories of comics. And it was from his point of view, and it's a very, very interesting read and very
man.
hard to get a hold of right now.
Yeah, I bet. That's pretty awesome though. Shit.
There's rumors like every couple years that it's going to be reprinted. IDW, I believe, came close, but they couldn't get the numbers right. But yeah, Steranko's another one who is amazing, and his contributions to comics are just they're unmentionable. Like people don't understand like the psychedelic work that Steranko did.
Nope. You're right.
Yeah.
I've got a kick out of some of the shit I got to read.
So look at this one. Who's this? Sir
Holy
Paul
shit.
Oh wow.
He's from Liverpool. He's one of the Beatles, and he's from
He's
Liverpool.
he's one of the Beatles. A fond farewell to Stan Lee of Marvel Comics. He will be sadly missed. I was lucky enough to meet him. He came over to my office and we sat around for a while chatting about comic books and my admiration for his work. Actually, he was suggesting making a superhero who would wield a Hofner bass guitar. The guitar would have superpowers, and we spent some time imagining what those could be. He had a great sense of humor, and I must say the idea of becoming a guitar-wielding superhero in one of his comic books was very appealing. sending love to his family and friends, and always holding happy memories of this great man. Love you, Stan. Paul.
Damn.
Now, here's the few things. I may lose it because I've been drinking like a son of a bitch.
Oh damn.
Dude, this one hit me too.
This
Wait,
one
this one?
made both me and my wife teary. This is just a meme that was done. This was done way before Stan's death, but it's become more popular since he has gone. And it reads,
Oh damn, dude.
let me steal myself here.
Oh, I've seen this before. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
One day sooner than you expect, given the man's age, he's in his 90s, remember. You will be sitting in a movie theater watching a superhero movie from Marvel, just as you've done lots of times before.
Mhm.
But this time, it's different. This time, there was no cameo by Stan Lee, and there won't be any more cameos in Marvel movies ever again. This time, the words "in loving memory of Stan Lee" will appear on the screen. And when you see these words, you are going to start crying like a baby. You know you will, and so will I.
Damn right.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
God damn.
Here, get ready, because probably our next Marvel movie that we're gonna see is probably gonna.
Well, we'll see.
We'll
You know,
see.
the
He
in-loving
supposedly
memory.
has. He supposedly has some in the can.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is the next one, and and then Avengers 4, and it is confirmed that at least the Avengers 4 cameo has been
Yeah, that's done.
Okay. Well, that cameo will be even more special because we'll know it's probably like the last one. You know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This is a comic written by Brian Michael Bendis. It was
cool.
shown in the New York Times, and it's just about his interactions with Stan Lee. I'll read it for the people on audio that aren't seeing the video, but if you're on the video, you can follow along. Before the bombastic movies and scintillating cartoons, before the intoxicating cinematic masterpieces that were his theatrical cameos. If you, like me, were an avid reader of Marvel Comics, Stan Lee, Stan the Man, was already as iconic as Walt Disney or Ronald McDonald. Enough said, true believer.
Oh, that's fucking cool, man.
Like many mere mortals, I discovered the titanic genius of Stan the Man as a very early embryo. I spent most of my childhood living in the wondrous worlds Stan co-created and poured over every simmering sentence of his blusterific bullpen bulletins.
Yeah.
Fucking all those bees. The bullpen bulletins for
alliteration.
And Stan did that also. That was another thing that Stan did. If you notice, most of the characters that he created had double names. Peter Parker.
Right.
It was easier. He said it was easier for him to remember when he used alliteration. He could remember their names easier.
Oh, that's
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Dr. Doom. Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Reed Richards. Oh shit, we can do this all day.
Yes, we can.
Storm.
Yeah.
For decades, Stan would write the editorial page in all the Marvel comics. It was there that he kept readers up on Marvel's latest comings and goings. You became a merry marching Marvel insider. We were all part of the party. And look at this, a fucking spinner rack, man. When's the last time you saw a spinner rack?
Dude, I haven't seen one of them since probably since
a week ago, actually.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Right,
Comics like that?
Yeah, that toy store I go to, that retro toy store.
Oh, no shit. That's pretty
got
awesome,
one.
dude.
That's cool that they have it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
The Marvel bullpen was portrayed as a dizzying madhouse of energy and creativity led by the feisty master of ceremonies himself, Stan the Man Lee. Who wouldn't want to work there? Stan the Man was such a larger-than-life character, you couldn't make him up if you tried. Once in a generation, being seemingly made of pure literary energy. I had no idea years later that I would meet the real man. 1988. It was back in my hometown of Cleveland. As a young budding artist still in college, I tricked my way into doing all the sign work for this lavish Superman parade that had taken over the city in celebration of the hero's history. A slew of guests from all over the pop culture were coming. One of the guests of honor was Stan Lee. and he was there for Superman, for the competition. That was actually how it was reported on the local news. I stayed up all night frantically working on the signs. The bus full of guests rolled up so everyone could get to their parade cars when suddenly Brian Michael Bendis, the guests walked off the bus to their parade cars. I whispered, You know my name? You're wearing a name tag, schmuck. Ronald McDonald just called me a schmuck. It was awesome. In 2001, my most famous Stan story, the one I've been dining out on for years, is during my first years at Marvel. Out of the blue, I get a call.
Dude, Ultimate Spider-Man. Damn, dude.
Ultimate Spider-Man. And that was the run that broke Stan and Jack's record.
Yeah, that was a good run, man.
Hi, Mr. Bendis. Sam Raimi. Never met him before. Wanted to show you some footage from our new Spider-Man movie. When I showed up for the screening, I was very surprised to discover that the entire audience consisted of myself, Sam Raimi, and entering my life for the first time as an adult, Stan Lee. I spent more than half the time glancing over at him. Stan was visibly moved by the footage. He sat and reminisced about the early days of Marvel, Spider-Man, and his own roller coaster to bring Spidey to the big screen. Even though this was almost 18 years ago, it felt like Stan was getting his wish just under the wire because he was almost 18 years ago. He was in his 70s.
Yeah.
Little did we know he had about 30 movies.
That's fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
How's your health, Marge? Fucking cameo. 2014, I start hearing through the grapevine that he wanted to talk to me. I was terrified. I soon discovered I needn't have been. He invited me to lunch. His restaurant of choice was the Beverly Hills Cheesecake Factory. It was just perfect. Don't ask me why.
Mm.
And that's a nice shot. Whoever this cartoonist is did a nice shot.
That's pretty awesome.
People want to know what I think of all the Marvel movies, but quite frankly, I can't see them. I haven't been able to for years. It's so frustrating, and I can't hear a damn thing. I really want to. I heard the Captain America Winter Soldier movie was as good as it gets. But the reality is, even right now, you look like a pink dot sitting on top of a blue dot. This was the lunch when he spoke frankly about his health. Man, he couldn't even see the movies anymore. Why is he the happiest person? He let his guard down, and I pretended to be a normal human being and not act like a nerd staring into the face of his literary god. I even caught myself whining to him about something job-related. I was whining to the man who created the job about the job. I stopped myself, but when I looked over at him, he was smiling. He really liked hearing about publishing problems. Later, we went to his office. The lunch was about him wanting to partner up on some new books. This was 2014, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
He explained his idea for a new superhero universe. I know I'm not the only writer he talked to about this kind of stuff, but still, I was so honored. He posed with me for a picture, the only one I have. He wasn't done. He still wanted to create all that he had done, and it wasn't enough. For a young man who dreamed of being part of Stan's bullpen, the invite was just the latest in a long list. At the time, Stan blew my mind. It was at those meetings I was able to really tell him thank you for everything. The little things, the big things, and he heard me. Excelsior. Never enough said. That was
cool,
and
man.
you can find that original material in the New York Times.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Good touching story, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at me fucking up.
Damn, man.
Let me go ahead and take care of this real quick.
Let me tell you guys. I mean, let's say this real quick. I think all of us can say that he probably touched us a lot of times in our lives. We're reading something that he had been involved in, either creating or he actually co-wrote or something like that. Just really, probably did something special for us.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I was a kid, you know, I didn't really have I didn't have a good home situation, and I used comics to escape it. And I know it's kind of people might say, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And I was like, literally, I would read comics just to tune out my parents arguing and just
Exactly.
it would help me escape into that world, you know.
I'm
And
with
he,
you, man.
yeah,
I
and he
think
made it. He gave that to me, you know.
I think that was the same for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I didn't have the happiest childhood either,
Sure,
and comics was my escape also.
absolutely. And it was just, and you think about it, you know, this guy, his creations got me through a lot of hard times, a lot of crazy times, you know.
Mhm.
And
Now,
wow,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Being a military brat, you know, my mom wasn't the greatest mom in the world, and my dad was deployed a lot. And you
right,
know, he's my stepdad of all things, and I don't care what anybody says. The man's my father, but him and I,
Yeah.
that was our thing. That and Star Trek: The Next Generation. You know, he'd go out in
sure,
the field or he'd go on deployment, and we would stack up these books. And we like with the comics, we could read them. He could read them there. I could read them here.
right,
And when he got back, we'd spend days talking about them and binging the stories together.
yeah,
And
right,
you know, that was my escape too, because when he was gone, all hell broke loose at our house. It was
yeah,
Yeah.
World War III, and
no.
you know, it just a
Oh,
whole bunch of shit that comics got me through.
now,
yeah, absolutely.
this is a tribute to Stanley, but we also have to talk about some of the other things.
Mhm.
Stanley is one of the major reasons why Jack Kirby didn't get as much recognition as he should have.
True, because
Um,
Stan Lee was kind of like the front man more so than Jack
That's
Kirby
right.
was, you know.
Stan Lee was basically the hype man for Marvel. I don't
Right.
believe that he did anything maliciously to Jack Kirby.
I absolutely do not believe he did anything. I was actually watching a couple of videos today, and if you watch these videos, he would say in the interviews, in the print, how we do it is I pitch them an idea, they draw it, I word it, and we put out the finished product. That's how we work together. And then of course captions would say, this is the creator of blah, and not crediting the
Right.
other people. And it's kind of like the media, but even back then started sowing the discourse, and probably not intentionally. But, you know, keep seeing that shit over enough time.
Yeah.
You know, say like Masterpiece Shit Piece Theater featuring Sam Mead, and we see that, and then Sam, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, wait a minute, there's 5 of us.
God damn
Where's
it!
the
Kick him back
theater?
to the Mountain of Mordor.
Look at
Yeah.
Sam smiling. He's going, yeah, about time. Anyway, go ahead.
But
Well, we had to elevate him a little bit because you know normally he's sitting in a booster seat, so that's why we do
Right now.
this. But
So-
you know, I think over
and
time
all-
that was just where a lot of that stemmed from.
Yeah.
and
I
a,
don't-
and
I
a
don't-
lot of it came also from Kirby when he came back to Marvel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because he was used to this kid getting his coffee, filling his ink wells, you know, being his gopher. And when he came back, Stan was the boss.
His boss, not just his co-creator and collaborator, but now he's his actual real legit boss.
Right. So the problems with Kirby, unfortunately, were never settled. He and Kirby never made up. There was a radio interview in the early 80s where they actually spoke together.
This is the
Stan,
late 80s, I think it was, around
Yeah.
87, 88.
Stan called in, and it was the closest that he ever came to giving Kirby credit. He also had problems with Steve Ditko. And this all stems basically from the way they had to do the comics. They were putting out so many books at so many times, and Stan was the writer for almost everything. So his name was on everything.
Yeah.
Stan was also basically the Hugh Hefner of Marvel. If you look at Stan was dressing like Hugh. He had the smoking jackets. Then into the 70s, and we went with the wide brim collars. He was emulating Hugh Hefner, and he also, he was the face of Marvel. That's why they paid him $1 million a year in the 90s for the rest of his life, so that they could still do Stan's soapboxes, which weren't actually written by Stan.
Yeah.
So those are two creators you never made up with. Stan's also known for a lot of hyperbole and misremembering about how things came about.
Also, Kirby, he passed away in February of '94. Ditko passed away June of this year, just a few months ago.
Yeah.
And Ditko and Lee never made up either.
No, they never did. And
You
in
know-
fact,
I think when you think about how it went down, I mean, Stan Lee became like the face of Marvel. Like the guy out front there. And like you said, he had his hands on a lot at one point almost everything, in one way or another. And I think that it's easy people forget. It's like a public persona. You know what I mean? It gets created. Now he didn't do everything, but he gets that everyone sees him.
Right. The public perception.
Sure, that's it. That's a perfect way of putting it. The public perception is that he did do everything.
Right.
But he didn't, but I don't think he ever tried to make that. I think that just happened.
Yeah.
Guy,
He rolled with the punches.
Sure.
And if you look, in the post that I made Monday when I found out, I said, along with he and his two biggest co-creators, his two biggest collaborators, Kirby and Ditko, they helped shaped my interest that have fascinated me since I was, my first action figure was Amigo Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's a cool. It was a cool figure.
Yeah. It was the 8-inch tall one with the cloth pajamas.
Doll life, baby.
Head.
That's doll life.
Josh's OG doll life.
Josh's like, no, it was action figure.
Right.
Don't do that.
But I mean, his influence, like I said earlier, has brought together so many people like us. More than anybody. More than any other creator, I think he's responsible for bringing us together.
True that.
Right.
You're right.
I think basically the way you could sum up the problems that people have regarding his co-creators with Stan Lee is sins of omission.
Yeah.
He could have done more to help Kirby. He could have done more to help Ditko. And it's sad that Kirby made more money from DC Comics the short times he was there than he did in all the time he was at Marvel. He also made more money than he did at DC doing design work for Alex Toth and
Killed it again.
Nick's about to grab his mic and fucking break that bitch.
I think he gets
Two washers in the support.
He gets a little bit too much up on that thing. He's like, I just want to lick it. Like Deluxe
Looks
opens
like
up a new
ice cream.
Transformer.
Hold on,
Like when Deluxe opens up a new Transformer in it. Yep. Rob, did you just lick your windscreen?
No.
Okay.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, who's listening?
It's me, guys. Sorry, hold on.
I think it's coming through his computer speakers or something.
One day, Nick's gonna learn all the settings on this microphone.
That's like saying one day we're gonna be a professional podcast.
It might feel more polished now. It might be like episode 60, episode 100.
600.
Hey, am I good now?
Yeah.
It sounds like you're coming through your PC mic instead of the.
I mean, we can hear you, but
Yeah. Talk,
All right,
Nick.
hold on.
Yeah, it does sound like you're coming to do.
how's this?
That's better. There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry about that, peoples.
Grunt man behind equipment.
Dude, 2 washers and that little armature will fix that problem.
Yeah, I know. I gotta fucking fuck with that this week. So yeah, those were the problems with Stan. Besides, of course, the incidents of him in his late 90s, supposedly groping some nurses, which have not been substantiated. But what has been substantiated is that Stan was in stages of dementia.
Right.
So
Exactly.
if you would like to hold a man accountable who is mentally ill and not in control of his faculties entirely for grabbing a nurse's ass, that's on you.
Dude, I do
Yeah.
a delivery every week to a nursing home. And
Like, I
to
grab
walk through
everything,
there
bro.
to walk through there and not see an old senile guy grabbing on a nurse's behind is a
Yeah.
rare occasion.
And we're not I'm not excusing the behavior, but I
No,
am
but-
saying that is a symptom of dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, man.
Your self-control goes, and you're not even aware of what you're doing.
The best way to describe it is you resort to your inner 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah,
some great things about Stan that aren't very well known. The creators of Superman, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, they sold the rights to Superman to DC Comics for $1,000 a piece.
Oh, wow.
This was way back in the day, and Stan Lee, because they did legal action with DC, they weren't hireable by DC. So Stan hired Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster under pen names and let them work for Marvel when no one else in the industry would do it.
And nobody, I remember hearing about that. Nobody would touch them. They were kind of considered like, because they sued and everything. I mean, it was.
Yeah. DC blackballed them.
Yeah, that's
DC
what happened.
completely
They
blackballed
got
them.
blackballed. Yeah, and that was kind of.
Which that's another thing that's not mentioned a lot about Kirby is DC blackballed him after his short tenure there in the 70s, which is why he went back to Marvel.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. There, it's kind of awesome that he did that because it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to break with what the industry is with when the whole industry is blackballed somebody and you're the one who goes against the grind. Now, granted, he changed. I mean, he had them writing under different names, right? But alas, he still gave him work, and I'm sure people knew. There were people that knew.
Well, there were also issues about certain comic creators being blackballed for one reason or another from DC, Wiz Comics, whatever. And Stan would hire these people. He wouldn't give them the same pay. He wouldn't give them the greatest page rate, but he gave them work.
But at least he gave him work, right? And which is, if you're blackballed, you're pretty much out of work, So you take what you can get,
Stan Lee also came out in his own soapboxes against racism and homophobia. Stan was again the creator of one of the first black superheroes in Black Panther. He gave Native Americans prominent roles in comics. And Stan was also one of the first writers to reject artwork of African American or black characters that was cartoony or basically just looked like white people with coloring.
Damn, dude.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's
a lot of artists, because they were white, did not know how to draw black people without resorting to. I'm sorry, this is kind of sensitive to say. I don't want to come off as crass,
right?
But as a caricature with big lips and the other stereotypes of black people,
they went the Fat Albert approach.
Right.
Yeah.
So Stan was probably the first writer to go ahead and nix that bullshit.
That's pretty good.
Under Stan Lee's watch, you got two of the most iconic black characters of all time, Black Panther and Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Wyatt Wingfoot was a huge character in Fantastic Four. We talked earlier about the allegories in X-Men, where Magneto was Malcolm X and Charles Xavier was Martin Luther King.
That shit's tight, man. That's tight.
And, the whole allegory of X-Men was racism.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. It was such sad. It was pretty ballsy, I think, at the time too. Basically, do a whole comic book based on shit that was happening in real life. Now, granted, you changed a few things, but nonetheless, it was
Right.
about the racism in the world that was going on, and
Well, if you look at any great piece of literature for its
Yeah.
time that talks about an issue, it's
Sure.
always clouded in allegory.
Good
Right.
point.
You know what
you're
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the X-Men is no different.
True, very true. It's actually why I think I enjoy almost every X-Men story. I think that's why I like it so much. And I love the whole
Mhm.
not just the X-Men, but around just the whole mutant story and the mutant saga as a whole is just interesting to me because
Yeah.
it is a whole racist thing basically. It's what it is.
Well, I mean, think about the idea behind the Sentinel program and all of that, where they were basically trying to ostracise an entire group being
Yeah,
mutants.
it's a genocide, almost a genocide, literally.
Yeah.
God loves, man kills.
Indeed.
I actually had my copy of that right here.
Yeah. And that's true. It's one of the attractions I have toward all those X-Men stories and the New Mutants and all the struggle.
Now, something I like to say is if people in the chat enjoyed this show, let me know if you would like to see spotlights on like Kirby, Steranko.
Steranko for sure.
Steranko would be an amazing show.
Honestly, you've got me very intrigued.
Yes, the stories behind. There's so many stories. Like we could do like one of these a month.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it every show because the research is pretty exhausting.
I'm sure.
I do not fucking envy James with his flashback segments, and that dude was doing it every week.
Absolutely.
The blast from the past. So shout out to that dude.
James puts that work in, man. He definitely does.
So,
but you did really good with this, man. I gotta tell you, I learned a lot. I appreciate you doing it. It was really cool.
Yeah,
it was really awesome, dude. We learned.
I didn't want to sugarcoat I didn't want to skip over like Kirby and Ditko and the problems there, and I didn't want to skip over the stuff that was going on later on in his life.
Yeah.
I think no matter the man's faults, he deserves to be celebrated. His family deserves the right to mourn the man, and I just want to say thank you. I mean, like Russ said, like growing up as a kid, comics were my escape.
Yeah,
and I gravitated to those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Joe Shuster, Carmine Infantino, all these people back in the day, they laid the groundwork for what we did.
Absolutely.
For what later generations did.
Yeah.
That we all gravitated to as a child.
Yeah.
So they created the magic that allowed us to escape shitty parts of our lives.
Yeah. And they also taught us that it doesn't matter who you are, what shape you are, what color you are, that we're all heroes, that we're all special.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
And then it's like on top of that, just the igniting people's imagination.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that's what people lose over time, man. It's a bummer, like when you can see people who lost it, and like some people hang on to it forever, but work like his gets that going in people. So,
before I destroyed the nerves in my hands, I used to draw. At one point in time, I was actually decent at art, And I started by trying to draw the characters that I saw in Marvel Comics.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
yeah.
Dude, like I'm so bad at drawing, I would fucking trace them.
Oh yeah, I've
I-
done that too.
I would just
Yeah, man.
trace the. I
I
would
do that
just
too.
trace them because like I'd ruined a comic book or something, and I just wanted that one piece, that one panel. You know,
You're not an inker.
Oh
You're,
God,
you're,
it was.
you're
it
a
was so-
tracer.
Yeah.
You say you're a tracer.
Shout out to Brody Lee.
Yep.
So yeah, rest in power, Stan Lee, and I think that's as good a place as any to end the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks
And the
so
whole
much,
song,
Stan.
I couldn't think of anything more fitting,
Amen
Yeah.
to that, man.
All right.
Hey,
So can you guys again? My bladder is that of a 2-year-old. So Josh, Rob,
Not
Sam.
only is
Yeah,
your platter
yeah.
that of a 2-year-old, but I hear that so is the equipment.
That's right.
yeah. Hey, you know what?
I'm
Before
just,
we take-
I'll post
lucky,
it.
I'm just lucky it's not an any. So, can you guys go ahead and handle the
I'm
hangout
doing
links?
it right now. I'm doing
All
it
right.
right now.
Beautiful.
Guys, get up in here.
Get up
the
in
chat.
the
come
broadcast.
hang out.
I'm here. I'm posting the
Thank you.
link
Yeah.
right now.
Come hang out for a while, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank everyone that stayed around and actually listened to the bullshit that I spouted. I know it was a lot of Nick talking and not a lot of exciting stuff, but I hope we educated, and I hope we all, you know, I hope we all had a moment just to remember Stan.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I hope that's what this show was.
I know we
Sure.
usually go out on a bunch of goofery, but I say we go out on a count of 3. Let's get an Excelsior on the way out the door.
Ready? Let's do it.
3,
3.
2, 1.
Excelsior!
Excelsior!